Okay, so I just, I did review the video of the budget meeting a little bit, and I just wanted to make sure that I brought some stuff up to your guys' attention. You may have already planned on this, but I just wanted to double check before the budget gets set. In the courthouse general, we do have every year the communication project that we started several years ago. That was when the FCC mandated all the changes in communications, and we had to do stuff, and it was a very large project. And that is spread out, I believe, over 10 years, Deb. And those payments come out every year in August. So it will not show up right now as being expended in this year, because it's going to come out at the end of August. That is roughly about $25,000, $26,000. And that was put into the courthouse general budget simply because that is an expense that covers the whole county. It's not really attached to any one department. So I want to make sure that in the budget cuts that was still, that money was still available for that. Also, Dave Fleming and I worked with Prairie Land, and they put up a antenna on the tower at Wheeler. So they cover the expenses for that tower for using it. The tower that is out here, the state tower that is out here by Roger Swigert's house, we have equipment on it, and we do pay utilities on that. It's separate. There's two buildings out there. One's the state and one's ours. We do pay the utilities on that, and that comes every year kind of in a one lump sum bill to the clerk's office. The state keeps track of that, and then they send us all the receipts and one bill annually. So that amount fluctuates.
And that comes out of courthouse general also.
Correct.
And you said 25?
The payment, I believe it's 25,000 and then some change. And then the utilities fluctuate. I mean, I know they can be over $1,500 annually, so for that. The other thing that we had the Safe Room grant. It's a 3-year project, so this gets kind of confusing, but last year there was approval to go ahead with that project, and there was a $10,000 match from the county. There was also Bird City and St. Francis were matching that as well. But that $10,000 never got moved, is my understanding, last year. And so it's put in the courthouse general, and I guess I'm just wondering, will that be transferred this year, like into grants, so that money's there? I just don't want to get us into a situation next year when we actually begin the construction and then that money's not there.
Probably move it this year, won't we?
I got an email from John Mapes, and I think we're going to need further clarification from him. He did put the $20,000 grant money into the fire department, but if I understand the email correctly, the other needs should be programmed for equipment and then go into the equipment account and then pulled out of there. Is that the way you interpreted the message?
Well, I guess my concern is for this project it would be actual construction of a building and not equipment. So I don't want to get us into a situation where the money's sitting in an equipment fund that then we can't use it for a construction project.
Construction? Okay,
Right,
that would be
that
capital
was exactly what I
improvement.
was sitting here
Okay.
thinking.
Yeah, capital improvement.
That would
Yeah.
work for construction.
And so I just wanted to make sure that, because I think there's money, I mean, obviously there's money in the courthouse general right now, that I don't know if we just need to go ahead and transfer the $10,000 match over to, so that it doesn't get
According to
forgotten.
the spreadsheets that I have from the treasurer, no. We have capital improvement for airport, road and bridge, home for the aged. I don't see a spreadsheet here for anything else.
Okay, but what you're saying is you're going to need the 10,000 in 2017.
Right.
That was proved last
Okay.
year, but it's never been
I don't
used.
know, why can't you just budget within grants for the 10,000 for next year? I don't even know if we're talking, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay. Because, I mean, part of the problem with courthouse general is it's just been a big bucket of funds that we draw from to like fill in these holes later. And in some ways that makes things confusing, and it's a little, I don't know. I think the public looks at that big amount of money and they're like, oh, they're just setting all this money. But what's happening is all that money's sitting there, but it's really, we need it for other purposes.
Other purposes, correct.
And I guess, okay, so I'm going to speak to this. I want to go on record saying I'm all for tax cuts. I have had lots of concerns brought forth to me, both from the county and the public. I think there's a lot of confusion when departments go to do their budgets. We've always had this courthouse general, which, forgive me, I consider that kind of a slush fund of if expenses go over, if things come up, and in our world, an emergency world, that, I mean, we can try to budget the best we can, but we never know what's around the corner. And I think part of the big concern was, you know, a couple years ago, we had all those fires because it was so dry, and the expenses were astronomical with that. Well, that wasn't budgeted anywhere. And so I think departments think, you know, when it comes to grants and stuff like that, there's been some common expenses that have been coming out of that courthouse general that they're not budgeting for in their actual department. So when we look at that big fund, you know, if we're going to cut that, I think that may be a problem down the road for those departments who are confused on what that fund's being used for, if I'm making any.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
And a lot of that comes to the grant matches. We've been taking a lot of grant matches out of that courthouse general. Well, did they budget for that in their budget, or is that they're thinking that matches in the courthouse general that next year may not be there? And I guess I don't know what the current reserves are for the county, but that we're carrying over. But, you know, when it comes to disasters, and I know that there's some amendments to the current tax lid for that, but right as it stands right now, for a county to even seek federal reimbursement during a disaster situation, you have to hit $3.9 million of uninsured expense. There is talk right now, it's not done, there's talk at the federal level of changing that, which would have make Kansas you would have to hit $9 million before they would come in. You know,
Is that for the state?
right. The state, how that works is the county has a threshold. We're at around 10,000. We can file. But then for it to go to federal, the state has to meet their threshold.
Right.
Well, if you're the only county affected, you have to meet your local threshold and the state threshold before it'll go on up. My other concern is, given our geographic location when it comes to meeting a state threshold, sometimes if more than one county is affected, that all gets lumped together under the state.
Yeah.
We border 2 different states here.
Right.
So our chances of having more than one county going in under the same declaration are just cut big time because we border 2 states.
And you're essentially saying, I mean, more of a reason for reserves, because if an emergency were to happen in Cheyenne, a major, due to our location and caps being increased, we may not be eligible for federal aid.
Correct. You know, right now, the 2 disaster declarations we've done in the last 2 years, I got in simply because lots of counties also had damage from the same storm system. You know, if it's a blizzard, a flash flooding event where they go across the state, then all those counties are going in underneath one, which has allowed us to also be part of that. But if it's a tornado that levels a town and you're the only county affected, you're going to have to meet that full threshold.
In no way.
No way.
Not with the current
I
reserves
would think we would
have.
have a hard time even meeting the current threshold at this. I know Greensburg barely made it, so because it's uninsured. If you have insurance on it, that doesn't count. And if it gets raised to $9 million, there's not $9 million worth of uninsured infrastructure in this county, I don't believe. So, I'm concerned about that when it comes to our slush funds and our reserves. You know, I'm all for cutting the budget and getting it down. I just am afraid I don't want to get it down so low.
That something bad happens and we don't get aid or have the money and the town literally ceases to exist.
Right.
Then we would probably end up declaring bankruptcy.
And so just in my position, I felt it was necessary for me to bring that forward to the board. So, And the last thing I have is, and I know the hospital had mentioned this yesterday at the hospital board meeting too, but I think we really got to look at communication with departments and department heads. And I know the conversation has been going on with Life Team, and I'm not, I don't know where all that is at. But in watching the video, I basically look at that as we kind of asked for an RFP for Cheyenne County from Life Team. And that concerns me a little bit because there are 2 other relatively local companies who have already expressed interest that if we go that route. And so I just don't want to get us into a situation as a county where we've actually kind of started into an RFP process, but we've not opened it up for other companies, if that makes. Also, I think in those conversations of exactly what is it that we're looking for, I think we also have to communicate with other departments in that when it comes to EMS. There's other departments that have to work with EMS, and depending on the route EMS goes, that affects how their departments go. The hospital, my department, dispatch. So I think we just need to be better about communicating and bringing all those players to the table. And the big group is our actual volunteers. I mean, having them have a say and input on, what the direction is for EMS in the future. So I don't want to get us to a point where we're unintentionally creating animosity amongst the people in that work for Cheyenne County. So.
Okay.
That's all I have, unless you guys have any questions for me.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
Ron.
thank you. Is Dolores here today?
Yes.
If we get a chance, can you ask her to print out the capital improvement fund? I mean, we have some of the breakouts, but not all of them,
Okay.
so.
You can ask her when she comes in. I mean, she's
Well,
on.
we have, airport's its own account. But Road and Bridge and, let's see, Airport and Road and Bridge are combined under 213. We need to know what others are in 213.
That's about the only ones that are there, are those 2.
So we don't have a capital improvement fund for, say, courthouse
We haven't been putting anything into the capital improvement.
until this year.
Yeah. Those are 2 of the bigger items that go into that capital improvement. So those are the only 2 right now that we have.
So we have 271,000 pending this year to go into capital courthouse. No, that's equipment reserve.
That's
Sorry.
equipment reserve.
Yeah.
I was going to say, that sounds, 271,000 sounds like
Yeah.
equipment reserve,
Yeah,
not
that is
capital
equipment
improvement.
reserve. Yeah. Okay.
I'm gonna make a motion to approve the warrants.
Yeah, we need to look at that later in the morning. That's why I put myself on here on budget.
Yeah.
I think we can take care of these other
Okay.
agenda items and then going back to this.
Okay.
Sound reasonable?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the warrants.
Do I hear a second on the approval of the warrants?
Yes, I'll make a motion. Oh, I'll second the motion.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, Jeff, you're up.
Morning, everybody. I've got an invoice here. We had to repair the floor in the boiler room. There was a toilet drain running through the concrete floor by the kitchen, and that cast iron pipe had disintegrated. So that was a repair. They had to get a concrete cutter because the concrete's about that thick there, and put in a new pipe and reconcrete it. So that was $370.75 to Travis Milne. He did a good job.
Good.
I'd sent around financial reports by email already. Well, the result for June was not a happy month.
We need one more for Roger.
I've got, there we go. And as I explained in my note, our census is down, our revenues are down, and that's a big gap. I can only reduce staffing so far. We're supposed to have activities there full-time. We have to serve 3 meals. We gotta have cooks and dietary aides. I explained all the department heads are working less than full-time, and they have multiple job roles, like Deb. The dietary manager is also the human resources, also staff development coordinator. So I think we're running pretty efficient, but when the revenue's not there. Now, we did have a meeting yesterday, a quality meeting, and Dr. Waltz was there, so we discussed the admissions picture, and the 2 main reasons he believes for the lower admissions are home health care is an alternative. People want to stay at home, and it's less expensive for the government to support people in their homes. And the other reason is that those that are self-pay don't want to self-pay for a semi-room. They'd rather have a private, so they go to Ray or sometimes Benkelman or elsewhere. We know several residents that have done that. So, I mean, that's a big jump then for within 1 month. And at the skilled nursing facility, at the senior apartments, we have 10 occupied through the month of June for a net gain of 2,517. So for the year to date, that lower right-hand corner shows the balances. And I believe that there was a payment from the county in May for the period January through May. I haven't seen that, but
Well, we signed it today.
Oh, is that in this?
Yeah.
Okay.
all right.
Yeah, it's in there.
It got paid this time or last time.
Yeah. So as of June, 15th, we're a minus 98,616.
That's as of the end of June.
End of June, okay, June 30th.
Yeah.
All right.
Mhm.
You're always 30 days in arrears, I mean, on the report.
I get the report 15 days after the end of the month.
Yeah,
Mhm.
okay, all right.
So if I tried to meet with you, say on the
No,
15th, I'm
no.
just saying, if I did, I wouldn't quite have the
Yeah,
financial
yeah,
report
yeah,
yet.
Yeah,
That's how it works.
okay.
Going back to last meeting, does anybody have any comments about the apartments?
They are getting painted, I hear. The
Yeah.
doors and trim and such.
Yeah.
Okay.
I sent a letter. I haven't heard anything back from that letter that I sent, a rebuttal explanation, clarification letter. Yeah, those are getting painted, and the other complaints had no merit.
I haven't heard any more.
So it'd behoove, I think, you to investigate complaints before you just send a letter out that there's a problem.
Well, there's been problems in the past, and I have checked them out, and we have done that. And this time, there has been problems keeping those apartments full. So,
Yeah.
and they did need paint for quite a while.
Yeah,
So this,
but that was on our scheduled maintenance.
Well-
It's gotten done.
yeah, it got done right after we had the meeting.
Well, it was going to be done anyway. It
Well,
just
that's
was
good.
coincidental.
Good. Then it is coincidental, so.
Yeah.
Anyway, we as a county, we want to keep those as full as we can, because these negative numbers coming down the pipe, we want to do whatever we can.
Yeah.
Advertise, clean stickers.
Well, it doesn't help when reports come out like the last meeting of complaints that actually weren't real complaints. They had no merit to them. It doesn't help. Check it out first. My advice. It would help us.
Well, the complaints were valid. They just were in the process of getting fixed at the time.
Well, no. The one was.
Okay.
The roof, I had nothing to do with the roof.
Exactly. So
The trees, they didn't take all the trees down. So,
anytime there's negative numbers on here, we get a little bit itchy.
yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it either.
I know you don't.
I don't like it either.
So we're doing our job, you're doing yours. There's going to be a little bit of friction back and forth because we don't like to see the negative numbers anymore.
Yeah. Well, if there are complaints, just check them out. That's all I'm asking.
I guess what I'm saying is in the past, I have checked out the complaints, and they were warranted at that time. Now, this time, I didn't get up there. I had been up there before, though. So, anyway, do you have any plans as far as trying to get more in the senior apartments?
Well, we're kind of waiting for the election to see if we're going to have all of our apartments still available or if they're going to be, and one building's going to be demolished.
Okay. Do you gentlemen have anything else?
No, I don't.
Not at this time.
And the election's
Okay.
next week, so we'll know shortly.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, well, best of luck to everybody.
Have a good day.
Okay, thanks. Ed, Rodney.
National exercise.
Did you get one of those? You want one?
We'll make, yeah,
If you get her a copy.
okay. We'll
Read your
break it a little bit.
Morning.
Good morning.
Thank you.
All right, we've got several things to discuss this morning. Under old business, going back to the out-of-town tax thing and housing. I did talk to JR this morning just outside the courthouse.
Okay.
He didn't have any concerns. The K-Work rep was at the building here within the last week. I cornered him on the idea, and he said it's really not their place to be, but he said at least add smoke alarms. And I thought, well, smoke alarms are pretty cheap. So I said, who is going to make the call? Because that's really what we're waiting on is housing for any night shift coverage, and then to decide what we're going to pay or if we're going to pay for the initial orientation. And I just put $10 an hour there because that's kind of our rate, but
How long is the orientation?
I knew you were going to ask me that. We haven't done orientation before. Jeff Paulson is our first person that's going through orientation right now. He signed up to help us do transfers. But since he's just transfers and not 911, there'll be more orientation with 911. I mean, these are all certified folks. They have to be, even if they would need a little extra training in the orientation process, because we do have them test out on all their skills again to prove that they're competent for our service. I'm thinking 12 hours maybe of orientation before we can put them on the schedule. And I'm really just picking that out of the air, but I don't think it's going to be a large amount. And the only reason why I put that is when we talked to Nicole about this whole volunteer pay and stuff and meeting pay, she said, are those meetings mandatory? And I said, no, our monthly meetings aren't mandatory. And she said, okay, so you don't have to pay them if they aren't mandatory. Well, this orientation is mandatory, so I assume that means we have to pay them. She She's here though, isn't she, someplace?
She just stepped out for a minute. She
Okay.
should be back.
And maybe we could ask her if she thinks it's whatever you guys, because I really
You can
don't
run
know.
it through her.
So are you comfortable with that? If we put in
1,000?
smoke alarms, we've got cots, we've got bedding, we've got even toiletries?
I assumed they were already there,
Yeah.
but,
No,
yes.
Okay.
I am okay.
I think
Are you?
they should be.
I agree.
And so, I'm sure smoke alarms in the two buildings aren't gonna be more than $500, so I'll go ahead and just get them up.
Okay, thank you.
Now, we do have a small fund, don't we, for that building, for equipment like that? So we could
For
take it
the
right out
EMS
of that.
building,
Yeah,
that
Okay.
EMS building
okay,
fund.
yeah.
Hey, Reed, but they also need a CO2 detector.
All he said was a smoke alarm. But like I said, he was quick to point out that he wasn't the governing authority over that.
You may check into the CO2 detector just to be safe.
My issue is, who do I ask? Because I've asked K-Work before, and they didn't mention the smoke alarms. This time they mentioned the smoke alarms. I've asked the Department of Labor, who was out here that did that inspection,
Yeah.
and they said they weren't the governing authority over that either. I don't know who is the governing authority. Like I said at that one meeting, I found out how to house stray animals and agricultural migrant workers. Well, I mean, there are specifics from the feds about that. So, I mean, I can specifically ask K-Work. That's what I'll do. I'll
Yeah,
specifically
please.
ask him, and if he says yes, we'll go ahead and do it. If he says, I don't know, we won't do it. And if he says no, we won't do it. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
I did put the Bird City response area under old business. We have discussed this previously. I just need to know how you want that staffed over there. What is our goal for response in Bird City? I know when we last talked about it, we talked about possibly putting it up for a vote of the people. And if that's what we end up doing, that's fine. But what are we going to do between now and that vote, I guess, is what I just need some direction. There is a little concern over there right now that it is so minimally staffed that there's a possibility of one of our technicians being out for probably 6-8 weeks. If that would happen, we would have no coverage during the week over there. And it comes down to resources.
We need to have somebody staffed, otherwise we're not going to make the 5-minute minimum.
Now the 5-minute minimum, let's go back to that. Let's explain that.
Okay.
That is a 5-minute minimum response out of the building.
Out of the building.
Out of the
So
building.
it's not on
understand.
scene, okay.
Yeah.
okay.
So it has not, per that requirement, I guess, here would be the worst case scenario. There is nobody in Bird City. So St. Francis gets paged. St. Francis leaves the building within 5 minutes. You're not fined.
Yeah, we met the requirement.
Right.
Yeah.
So they don't have to leave. We just have to have a response out of the county. So I need a little direction on that one.
What do you guys think? At one point in time, Clayton Janicki was ready to step forward.
We talked about that in executive session, remember?
Well, we had said it.
And then
out at one time.
and then you mentioned it outside of executive session, and I think if we're going to discuss that further, it needs to be back in executive session. But no, he has not been contacted.
Well, is there anybody else over there?
No.
I mean, that's qualified.
There was, when we had the special EMS meeting, there was that couple that just moved into town
Oh, yes.
that was interested in a class, and I've heard since that they might be moving. So they were like the first two on my list because they sounded really interested in doing it. But
We got to have somebody.
You're just gonna have to beat the bushes and see whoever's qualified. Who's still got their status or whatever to actually do that.
So that's a good point. I mean, we can go down the road of mandatory.
Well, don't make it mandatory, just get on the telephone and talk to them a little bit and see if they
Well,
step up.
they can't, because the two that leaves is Wendy and Lauren. Lauren's in the field, and Wendy's got a full-time position in St. Francis. That's what we're up against. You know what I mean? No, we all know Lauren's not in the field all the time, and he does. He carries his radio wherever he goes, and if he's close, he covers. And of course, even now, as soon as, there's a call for Bird City, the St. Francis, we take the truck. That was the purpose of the truck over there. And that has worked fairly well up to this point. But that's always been with at least one person in town over in Bird City. They can get things going, and we show up, and it works pretty well. If we run into a situation where there's nobody in Bird City, then there is a delay in providing services. And I think you'll probably hear about that.
Well, I agree with Ed. I'd beat the bushes, whatever you have to do to try to find people that would step up and help. I mean, that's the only thing we can do, isn't it?
It's the only thing I would know to do. I mean, unless you got a better plan, do you got anything going, any plan? What do you want?
My plan was option A. Our plan was option A. I mean, the EMS department agreed on those options. I mean, the idea of beating the bush is, if there was a group of currently certified EMTs that weren't running over there, absolutely. There's not. And I mean, there's no exception to being certified.
How many EMTs are over there that are certified that are doing call?
3. Lauren, Wendy, and Jill.
And there's no more that are not on the schedule, or have you contacted the 2 ladies that I had told you about, or we had talked about?
No, not until we decided on housing. Now that we've made that decision, I'll try to get a hold of them this afternoon.
Okay, it might be something that maybe, we don't have any housing over in Bird City, do we then?
I mean, we can do the same thing. I mean, that's what, when I said put the smoke alarms in both buildings, that's what I was planning on
Well,
doing.
if we can do that, that would help solve some of the problem until we get a class going. So you may check into that and see if that's a possibility, Reed.
Okay, I will do that.
Okay.
Okay, that's all we have for old business. New business, shift bids from July 15th through today ran $1,252. I know there was an issue, and I'm just bringing this up. I put to promote fairness in the shift bid process because that was an issue, correct? Can I offer half shift bid rate to those that are already on the schedule when there is a shift bid opening? Do you understand what I'm getting at?
Yeah,
I mean,
but again, you're going to exhaust your personnel line item in your account by the end of the year, then we're going to have to transfer funds from courthouse general to cover it.
I
In the future, we
that's
won't
accurate,
be able
yeah.
to do that. I don't know. There's just,
And that's why I'm a little concerned that we really, you guys are kind of in the final stages of setting your budget for next year. And we really haven't made any progress on what we're going to do for next year for this problem. You know what I mean? I mean, we've got this, according to the budget meeting, we have the same budget we had last year to work with. And I don't know of another option that doesn't involve money. But, I mean, that's
the
just
only other
FYI.
option, to be frank, is to close the facility in Bird City and consolidate here. We only have two options, either fund 100 and some thousand or whatever it was, or close.
And really, to close the Bird City station, I mean, let's think of today. We close it tomorrow. I don't have the numbers right now, but that's not going to save you a whole lot of money. I mean, we pay $100 a month for rent and utilities and all that out of that building. And then we pay the techs 50 cents an hour to cover call. I mean, it's not going to amount to a large amount of money. Now, that's today. Let's say you went with option A tomorrow, magically, and we hired the two positions in option A. One of those positions was for Bird City. So then there would be a substantially more savings. Do you understand what I mean there?
Yeah, I understand.
I mean, but
what
right
you're
now, you won't get rid of a whole lot of expense. I mean, some maintenance on an ambulance, but not having as many ambulances in the county, I mean, that's not going to affect your budget for a few years, really. I mean, because they're already bought. Did we get a proposal from Life Team?
No.
No?
I did not receive an
Okay.
email.
I did talk to Mike yesterday, and I got a call in the middle of it, and we didn't get to finish exactly. Did you get a proposal submitted?
I thought he was going to meet with his people down there the day after he was here. Did he not do that?
That I don't know. I don't know. That's what I understood too that day from
That's
watching
why
the
I was
video.
surprised that the county hadn't received anything yet, because I thought he was going to go back with their request and meet with his people and then get that proposal back.
That's the way I understood it. too.
I've heard nothing.
Yeah.
And I do know there's other companies that provide services also. And I know some of them have even expressed an interest and just told me, hey, if Life Team's able to submit a proposal, why can't we? So. So I guess the decision on the table is, do we want to keep the shift bid process the way it is now, or do we want to change it to make it quote-unquote more fair? But I mean, you're right. My budget doesn't support it. It would be my hopes that it's not a large amount of money.
In a perfect world, we wouldn't have this trouble because, I mean, if you look at the overall numbers, if we were to even go with option A, we're looking at the proposed budget of 16 is 349,880, and I think what was option A, 150,000. You're looking at a half.
It's higher than that.
Well, let's just say it's $500,000, but you go back to 2014, it was 194,170. I went through the last 10 years' budgets and tried to figure all this stuff out. We can't keep feeding this snake if it's not going to work.
That's right.
I don't know what to do.
And that's why you need to look at a proposal.
Well,
I mean, you need to
keep,
and compare us to other counties.
But do understand, I want to keep stuff local. That's my overall goal. But I'm sitting here going, what do we end up doing if we do the additional $150,000, we did a good job doing our budget. We spent a lot of time doing our budget this year. And we started working on that last January. And, if we go $500,000 for the ambulance, we're just shooting ourselves in the foot on our budget. We have to be better stewards of the county's money than that. I don't have the answer is what I'm getting at.
I guess, do you want my opinion? If I were in your shoes, this is what I'd do. Do you want that?
I would like to hear your opinion.
Okay.
Yes.
The Life Team proposal's coming in almost too late. But hopefully we will have a proposal. I don't think, from the meeting that I watched, that the scope was clearly defined to them. Exactly what you guys want.
And see, my hope was that they would be able to...
Because they can offer a huge spectrum of services.
At what cost?
I know. Every time you go up a tier, I would assume you're going to go up a tier in cost too. So you could probably pursue them and say, we want to get out of the EMS business. We want you to come in and 100% outsource our EMS. And I think that's going to be your top tier. I mean, it can't get more expensive than that.
Right.
But imagine that world for a second. Are they going to do it with the same volunteers we can't get to cover?
No. We want to keep it local.
I mean, but what I'm saying, that's your...
Or I do.
That's your top tier.
Right.
And then I think there is options everywhere down below. But I don't think you're going to get them to share staffing like Mike talked about, and I don't want to put words in his mouth.
Right.
But you're not going to do it for 50 cents an hour.
How many Flight for Lives do we have on average? Let's say July, because I know there was 2 on the 4th of July.
Oh, gosh, if I'd have to guess, we're probably 30 to 40 a year.
Okay, so it's safe to
Probably
say...
30. I would say more like 30.
30 a year. So let's say it's average of 5 a month. Okay, they've got their own planes, so they're gonna get all that. I mean,
be careful with that though. It's not up to them. It's up to that provider at the hospital that's transferring the patient.
okay.
And
Well-
right now, I believe there is a preference to Eagle Med and not Life Team.
Well,
So we cannot assume without talking to the med staff at Cheyenne County Hospital that Life Team's going to get these flights. I mean, that's out of my realm totally. I'm just the taxi between the hospital and the airport.
well, I don't know what the answer is, but we need to work
We
with the
need
number
more
that we
data
have.
is what we need.
We need more data and we need more. What I was hoping, and I tried to get out of, I believe it was Mike that was here, I said, I would like to see if they have EMTs that we can use until we fill this gap. And I said, until we have a course, and there's some that will talk to me and I'll say, well, there's only going to be maybe 5 that take it, maybe only 3 pass. So where are you at then? But
It's better than where we're at today.
well, I know that, but it sounds like they can do the educating as well as far as courses.
yeah.
So I would like to see us.
I think, go back to Mike and say this. We are interested in training and staffing sharing.
Yeah.
Because you kind of said that in the meeting,
Right.
but be very direct about that.
What do you
Give
guys
us a
think?
price for this.
Okay,
That sounds good. It's a good place to start.
and then
I mean, that's the bottom tier.
that.
But I think you also need to, if you're really going to do a request for proposal, put it out there for the other companies that are interested in the same thing.
Okay.
Would be
But
my,
I would like to have you do diligence and do that very quickly before we finalize the budget, because we need to know where we're going to need to be, and I'm hoping we can stick into where we're at, or a little bit. You know what I'm saying? I know.
staffing's going to be,
I know. But
We can get training.
We do need to know, especially with the tax lids. So everything, any decision we make, we have to take into consideration that this has got to work for the next 3 years. You know what I'm saying? So
But just to remind you that EMS is exempt.
okay,
But it doesn't mean you want to do that.
right.
But,
that would be I think.
so
that-
you want me to reach out to Mike and tell him that?
Yes. And
Okay, I'll
if
do
you
it.
find out later today, I think we've all got emails or texts.
Do you want me to ask the other company the same question that pursued me? I mean, it's Eagle Med.
Yeah, I think,
Probably have to.
think it should be done.
And get, I guess, different prices to find out, because we have to have a service in Bird City.
Actually, we probably should draft up a proposal with the requirements and put it out for bid.
I mean, that's how it
When-
should
when-
be done, but.
When Nicole returns, let's ask her on that. I don't want us to get into trouble by contacting various companies without it being within the confines of the law on how we're supposed to operate.
I think that's where you start. You start at the bottom, ask for that.
When you, let's say Bird City didn't have an ambulance service, somebody
Mm-hmm.
calls, okay, we've got the response time down to 5 minutes at our location.
So the
Let's
state's
say-
off your back.
Let's say you have a Mario Andretti drive and they make it in 10 minutes. You're still 15 minutes. It's going to take you at least 8 minutes to load, I would assume.
If we can do 10, it's kind of the goal for
Okay,
the
so then you
traumas.
have another 10 minutes on the way back. Let's say it's 3 minutes to get everybody situated in the ER. There is a golden hour for a reason. That needs to be a last resort, absolutely last resort. We need to
I
have
agree.
it over there. So
And
that's the way I
that's
feel.
now if you're up on Highway 161, you know, and we had that where we had to, you know, there was more than one patient, so we rolled an ambulance from St. Francis clear out there.
Okay, well, we've got to do what we need. We've got to extend our arms out for other resources until we have some education and get some more EMTs. So go ahead and reach out to Life Team Eagle Med.
We'll wait till Nicole though, right?
Okay.
Okay, but that'll kind of be the plan. Okay, to go back to the fairness of the shift bid thing. I mean, approve it, deny it, table it. You know, we can do it like the shift bid thing where I report every 15 days to see how much money we're spending.
When you reported last time, the shift bid was running $750, is that correct? I don't have my other notes. I thought it was,
I can look at it
which would make it, if that's the case, it'd make it $2,002
for the month.
for the month. So you're basically, give or take, $24,000 a year to do the shift bid.
Based
Well,
on this month.
Based on this month. I don't like to spend money, you know that, but we have to have EMTs. What do you guys say?
I mean,
Well, I
Go
agree,
ahead.
we gotta have.
Go ahead and authorize it.
and then
I
I'll
don't
just
think we
report
got
it.
any choice.
I know we don't.
I'll just report it. And if you want to cancel it, we cancel it.
When you do talk to Mike, please ask him when the soonest class is that we could get.
Well, and we talked about that a little bit, and he said, gosh, I hate to speak for him, but I don't have any options. He was like, I hope they understand. It's just not something you put together
I
tomorrow.
know that.
And I said, I know. And he's like, I'm thinking the earliest is late fall.
Okay,
And I said, mid-fall would be real good,
okay.
because we start getting into spring then, when we
Well,
finish, and that's when.
hopefully, with this televised, people in the community will step forward and maybe we'll have a nice big class. It would be
And
fun.
it doesn't even take a big class. The right 3 people can make a huge difference. The right one
Right.
person.
Right, 12 people can make it a lot easier on all of us.
That's very true.
Okay.
All right. Are you going to motion on that, or do I need to?
Do I hear a motion to go ahead and do the shift bids for August?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we offer the shift bids for August.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
And that's to offer the half rate to those that are on call, right?
Right.
Okay. Resignation, Jen Austin, who works for us 8 hours a week in a clerical capacity, put in her resignation effective August 2nd. She kind of told me the beginning of July that she was planning on doing this, but she made it official. So I sent out an email to existing staff saying, hey, can anybody else pick up 8 hours? The only thing I got back was from Dee Wilson. but she's currently at 24 hours a week.
This is a part-time position,
Yeah.
and then we should advertise it.
In the paper.
Yeah.
Karen, can you put that in there for us, please? What do you want it to say, Reed?
I'll get it to you. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it'll basically be a clerical position, experience in computers is the big thing, because that sits basically in front of a computer for 8 hours. Billing, just to catch you up, I'm catching up on that backlog, should be current by the end of August, and then September we can start processing those Kansas set-off accounts. Nicole has drafted a collection letter just for these accounts that I'll be using, in September. The only other thing I had was budget related. The matching EMS grants line item.
Okay.
I noticed that you guys are going to do that for the fire department.
Right.
Do you want to do that for EMS also? Because
We
from the
we
go ahead.
discussed having a consolidated fund under other,
Oh,
and putting all of the others in
Okay.
that account. Now, this email that Carol sent me has a slightly different figure than what you have here. She's got $62,018. You have $64,58.
Here's, I got it. You have time.
I would say this: if in doubt, go with Carol's numbers. Because I've seen her
I have
spreadsheet.
too, yeah.
It is more detailed than you and I can imagine.
Okay.
So yeah, well, let's go down $2,000, or
Uh,
roughly $2,000,
You're
Where
saying
we're
on
at
the
on
64
that
going
is,
down 2?
going down to 2,
Carol?
62.
Yeah.
I forwarded your email to the accountant, and he
Okay.
looked it over. And I need to get back and find out if I understand his reply correctly.
Okay.
I think he's alluding that we should budget for next year and put it in the line item for equipment, and then we can draw it out of there. But I want to make sure that I understand his very brief reply here.
Okay, even though very little of this will be.
Because
equipment.
right now, all of the
Fire
departments-
would be equipment, but EMS is more personnel and contractual than it is equipment for their match. I mean, the only piece of equipment is the monitor. And
Now we just need to
then the
transfer.
other one that was on there was the safe
low
room, making
census,
sure that we
the
transfer that
opportunities
forward.
in there.
Was what?
That's on the very top line item, that $9,937.50. That was the local match for the safe
For
rooms.
next year.
Right, because the
Right.
government's dragging their feet, so that needed to get moved over, and that would be kind of a capital, so.
I'll follow up with the auditor, and then I'll let the other two commissioners know exactly what I've found.
Great. And I was hoping to make sure all of these projects have some funding somewhere in the
Right,
budget.
right.
So that if we do get them, that.
Yeah, I concur on that.
Okay. That's why I came, I wanted to make sure.
Okay.
And the last thing, I don't know why it didn't print off, but it should have been under old business. Did you guys decide, or have you decided, if we're moving EMS to its own fund or leaving it in the general fund?
No, we did not.
Okay. Because I'm just thinking
It-
that's
it
going to have an
needs to-
impact
right
of the
now-
budget if we're going to do it.
I don't remember discussing that with the auditor, do you?
No, and that was pretty important.
Yeah.
Currently, you left this in the general fund.
Pardon?
Currently, you left it in the general fund.
Yes, it's currently left in there, and I would, no, I don't want to even make a statement.
Okay.
We'll let the auditor
Nicole back.
clarify that.
Okay, Nicole, question for you.
Sure.
Oh, okay. New employees that have to go through mandatory orientation,
Yes.
pay them?
Mandatory?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I thought.
Is $10 an hour the going rate for EMS good
Yeah.
for you guys? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we will back pay the current one that's in orientation.
If it's mandatory, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm thinking you're gonna have to.
And was that all we had for her?
No, you were going to talk to Nicole about drafting that letter. Or, no, she
Oh, the
had
RFP?
drafted the letter. Right.
Basically, to go out to these EMS consulting companies,
Okay.
because they reached out to Life Team, and we think we need to formalize
I see
that
what
process a
you're
little bit
Yeah.
more.
Okay.
Yeah, we're
And
gonna
probably
wanna-
Eagle Med, is that correct?
Yep. American Medical Response was when I was in Atwood. I reached out to them also. They're based out of Topeka, but they didn't seem.
American Medical Response, you said?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
And I mean, I think the RFP needs my input and your input to make sure we're on the same page. I mean, I don't have a problem giving you some bullet points to put in there what
That
we're
would be
wanting, but I don't know if I really can represent you guys the best
You can email us all and we can try to communicate that way.
that way. Okay, I'll do that.
And if you don't get back to me, email me, maybe call me.
Okay.
don't know.
Well, and you do text, right? Okay.
Somewhat.
All right. That's all I had, unless you have something for me.
Thank you. Let me know if you hear something.
Yeah, I will. I will. I'll holler at those two today.
Okay.
We've got both fire guys here. Can we
Yes.
put up to Lars for a few
Yes,
minutes
most
and take
definitely.
them?
Most definitely.
Yeah, because I gotta get back to work.
You guys come up. Dan, come up. Kind of weird talking to you like this. You have my messy. All right, gentlemen. Want to start?
What are we doing? I got called to be
I
here.
wasn't
so-
informed of what's even going on. I was just told them to be here and it had to do something with fire department. So
Okay.
I'm not prepared for anything.
That's fine.
You're supposed to come in with the answers, didn't you?
I'd like to. I don't like being unprepared.
We're not going to put you in the spotlight. Okay.
Putting you on the spot.
I guess. Like I said, I got a phone call to be here at 9:30.
Based on
so
your
I'm here.
conversation with Sheriff Beeson when he was in during the budget request, you had asked that I call each.
Right, to combine or not to combine.
Right.
And so
To
I wanted
discuss
to
the
know what your guys'
financing and
what are you guys' thoughts? Because I think combining them is what we're leaning towards. Am I correct, gentlemen?
Pardon?
We're thinking about keeping them combined after
Yes,
talking to the
yes,
auditor.
that's what I think their
But we want your
auditor
guys'
wanted too.
intake on this.
Well, it's always been combined.
Right.
Well, yeah, but we're talking as far as your budget's concerned.
Budgets have been combined.
Right.
Right, but. I
Has it
mean,
been
you're not
working
getting
good?
turned in on
We
time.
have a good working relationship, me and Dan,
Yep.
Okay.
as far as I'm concerned. And,
Yep.
we ran through some numbers yesterday briefly.
Okay.
I was not aware of the wage increase for anything over 2 hours on runs.
Yeah, that was like 2 meetings ago or a meeting ago, correct?
Well, that being said, right there, I'm going to stop this for a minute.
Okay.
And I'm speaking for St. Francis.
Okay.
I had a guy come, or we had a meeting the other night, and I had a fireman say that he's a volunteer, and due to the community and what they donate to us and all this stuff, he'd just soon see our pay stay as it was. Nobody's looking to get rich on St.
No,
Francis Fire.
we
So,
know that.
And we feel the same on our
Well,
end.
everybody does it because they care.
We had,
Amen.
Brent,
Yes.
if you would, take a look at what the auditor programmed in based on what we had given him.
Just let me look at